Welcome to another edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. This is a follow-up to the second teaser picture that I posted a few days ago. And as I showed you in that last teaser picture, I have a Ruger case here. But what's inside? Let's look at it together. So I'm trying out a new format. I have a Bluetooth headset on, so hopefully my audio comes across a little bit cleaner. I noticed the last couple of videos I did, the audio was washing in and out, so I'm trying to get a more even tone as I do this. So let's go ahead and look at what's inside this case. That looks like a Ruger Mark Series pistol, and that's exactly what it is. So I went to the range last weekend. I took my Smith & Wesson Victory, my SR22P, my LCP2, and what else did I take? I had 4 or 5 of my 22 pistols. Oh, my Ruger Wrangler. And when I was out there shooting, I realized that the Victory 22 was a lot of fun. It was pretty accurate. And I was shooting it actually alongside my 617 revolver. And believe it or not, the 617 revolver was getting me better groups. Now, it might have been because it was only 36 degrees and it was windy out, and I was starting to get cold by the time I was trying to do groups. But while I was shooting the Victory side by side with the 617, I said, you know, it'd be really cool if I had another target pistol to take out and see if I can get better groups than I can with the Victory or the 617. And the Ruger Mark Series is a pistol that I've been looking at for quite some time. I say that in every video. I'm looking at something for quite some time. I wanted to get something for quite some time, but I really mean it. And even though I'm putting a whole bunch of new gun videos together, it doesn't mean that I've purchased them all in the last week. It's taken several weeks to get these. I just haven't had a lot of motivation to do a lot of videos lately. Now I'm finally getting around to it. So this is a Ruger Mark III. Now I had been looking for a Mark II or a really nice Ruger Standard to buy, and I really wasn't having that great of luck finding one of those pistols. So I had looked online quite a bit. You know, you can look on Gunbroker and other places like that, and you can see a lot of really nice pistols that are out there, and sometimes you can get really good deals on those. But part of the problem with buying a pistol for me off of Gunbroker is that if I buy it off a Gunbroker, I have to pay shipping from wherever it is to my local FFL, which usually costs somewhere between $30 and $50. And then I also have to pay transfer fees, which is usually somewhere between $35 and $45. So by the time the gun gets to me, it's going to be $75 to $90 more expensive than whatever the auction ending is when it's on Gunbroker. So typically, it's cheaper for me to try to find one locally. So that's exactly what I did. So I went online and I looked at all the local shops around me. I looked at all the Mark IIs that were available. I looked at all the standards that were available, at least online. And then I picked one shop that had 5 of these things in stock, and I went in and started looking at all of them. So they had a Ruger Mark II that was all done up with a Volquartsen trigger and bolt and spring package, and it had one of those crazy wooden target grips with the big bulge on the bottom and all the finger grooves in it and stuff. And it had a red dot on it. And for me, I don't particularly want one that's all done up. I want one that's stock that I can put my own customization on. So there was that Mark II that was all done up, and that one was like $800. Then they had a Mark III that was all done up with a red dot and one of those big grips and a Volquartsen trigger, and it had like a magazine and a case with it and things like that. And then they had this one, which is a factory stock Ruger Mark III, and it only had one magazine, so I found another one since then. But it's a Mark III. This one dates back to 2004. It still has the original paperwork inside the box, so this has the original spent shell from the factory in it. Came with the original case, which is always a plus for me. And it's in very nice condition. So when I got it, it was obviously pretty dirty. It had been shot. It hadn't been cleaned since the last time it had been shot. So I took it apart completely, degummed the inside of it. Basically what it looked like inside was that somebody had used some type of a wax or a grease. It may have even been factory wax or grease that was inside the pistol, and somebody had taken it out and put a couple hundred rounds through it and then basically packed it away for probably the better part of 10 years. That's what it looked like. So the insides, all that grease was all gummy and gooey. I had to take it outside. I used some break-free bore cleaner spray, and I sprayed out the whole inside of the frame, wiped the thing completely dry, and then I used break-free CLP to completely finish cleaning it and lube it up. And what I came up with is this beautiful example of a Ruger Mark III pistol. It's in almost perfect condition. I mean, I noticed there was a couple of nicks on it here and there, but realistically, it's in really, really good condition. I mean, if somebody didn't have a trained eye, they probably wouldn't be able to tell anywhere that there was an issue with this thing. So it's in great condition. The grips are in near perfect condition. It just looks great. Now, the Mark III is one that a lot of people don't particularly like for two main features. One, it has a magazine disconnect, so when you rack the slide on it, the trigger does nothing unless you have a magazine in it. And I know you're not supposed to dry fire rimfire guns, but just for the sake of the video, you have to have a magazine in it to pull the trigger. So that's one thing. It has a magazine disconnect. And then the other feature people don't like is that it has a loaded chamber indicator right here. And again, I'm indifferent to loaded chamber indicators. I know a lot of states require them for whatever reason. They feel that it's a necessity so people don't have to press check their guns, or mainly because people are stupid and the manufacturers don't want to get sued sometimes. So the loaded chamber indicator and the magazine disconnect, they're things that people don't really like with these. Well, this particular one, it was right in the price that I wanted to pay. It's in such good condition. Came with the box, came with the magazine, came with the original document, or the original shell in the box, which usually tells me that it was bought and it wasn't shot a whole lot. It was just stored a long time, because a lot of times that paperwork gets lost. So it was a good deal for me. I ended up buying this one. While I was at that shop, they had two Ruger Standards as well. Both of them were from probably the 1950s. One of them had scratches all along the back of the frame, so I don't know if somebody was trying to pry the bolt out or they were trying to pry the top barrel off when they were trying to take it down or things like that, but it was all scratched up in the back, and it had some scratches up here. And the second one, the entire top of the receiver, all the bluing was worn off. So I'm like, you know, those two were the same price as this one. I think one was more expensive because it was from the 50s, but one of them was the same price as this. And I said, you know, I don't want to buy something that I'm not going to be happy with. This was the nicest out of the 5 Ruger Marks that that shop had, so I bought it. And I've done a little bit of history on these since then. I thought originally that the standard model was called a Mark I, but when they first came out, the standard was the thin barrel model that had fixed sights on it, and the Mark I was the target one. It had a little bit heavier barrel, a little bit longer barrel, and the rear sights were adjustable. So that was the standard in the Mark I. The Mark II was basically the same as this, except, well, and one other change too. The standard, the Mark I and the Mark II have a heel release for the magazine. So they have a button down here that you pull back and the magazine pops out, versus a standard button that you have with most modern pistols. Also, the standard and the Mark I do not have a slide hold open. You had to pull the bolt back and use the safety to hold the bolt open. They didn't have a last shot hold open either. So this one had several improvements on it. It has the button release. It does have the slide stop. It has a last shot hold open. And again, it has the loaded chamber indicator and the magazine disconnect, which aren't my favorite features, but I can live with them, to have that nice button release for the magazine and the last shot hold open. So this is a very nice example of a 22 long rifle Ruger Mark III pistol. The other nice thing that's good about the Mark III versus the Mark IIs, these came from the factory with tapped holes in the top of the receiver, so you can put a rail on here and put optics on it without having to have a gunsmith do any work on it. Most of the Mark IIs did not have threaded receivers. A few of them did, but most of them did not. So you'd have to have a gunsmith drill and tap that, or try to do it yourself, which never turns out well. So even though this has the, you know, hated features, the disconnect and the loaded chamber indicator, this is really a good platform for somebody getting into Ruger Mark pistols that may want to put some optics on it, and just to have one with all the nice features. Now, I know the Mark IVs are more desirable because they have a hinge here in the front, and the takedown is much easier. You basically just push a lever in, pull it down or something like that, and the whole barrel tips up and you can slide it off for cleaning. But you know what? That's part of the reason why the Mark IIs and IIIs are so inexpensive compared to the Mark IVs. I mean, right now, the only place that I found a Mark IV was a Mark IV 2245, And it was more expensive than this. Yes, it was brand new, but I don't like the 2245s. I like this old school style, and again, for the same reason that most people like these and the same reason that Bill Ruger made this particular pistol, it looks reminiscent of a Luger pistol or a Nambu pistol, because he actually based the design on a Nambu, but the way the grip angle is, the way the grip looks, the way the frame is, especially on the standard models with that pencil barrel that tapers down to a point, they look very much like a Nambu or a Luger pistol. And I would love to have a Luger. I had a chance to buy one about a year ago. It was $1,400, and I just couldn't justify the price of it because it's $1,400 on one gun, and it's something that I wouldn't shoot a whole lot, but I would really want to shoot it a whole lot because everybody says they're great pistols. So in lieu of doing that, this guy was $500. Some people are probably going to say I paid too much for this, but it has a very low round count on it. You can tell it hasn't been shot a lot. If you look at the bolt, you can see right here that there's only just starting to be a little bit of bluing wear on the bolt. Same thing on this side, just a tiny little bit of bluing wear. If you get one of these that have had thousands of rounds put through them, you're going to have a lot more wear on this bolt. The whole bluing between the grip knob and where it goes into the frame usually is worn off if these things have had a lot of rounds through them. So in this particular case, I know this has a low round count. Like I said, it was just a little bit gummy inside because somebody did a really poor job cleaning it, or they never cleaned it. They probably took it out and shot it once or twice with the factory lube in there and it got all gummy. Maybe that's why they wanted to trade it in. It might have been an estate gun. I'm not sure. So this is what I got. This was my surprise that I had with the Ruger. Whoops, that goes in that way. With the Ruger case that I had in the picture the other day. Can't wait to take this thing out and shoot it. I have so many new things to take out and shoot since the last time I went to the range. And again, it was a couple weeks ago when I went to the range. I haven't even put that range video up yet because it's going to take me quite a while to edit it. The footage was poor because it was so cold out, it was windy, and I just really wasn't into filming much that day. So I'll put a short video up with that. But the next time I go out, I have another new Mark pistol, or a new target pistol in 22 long rifle that I can take out and try my hand at and hopefully do pretty well with it. So just another short video from Cranky Gun Reviews. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Have a great weekend. God bless America. Make sure you support your two-way rights. Thanks.